Hi, hello. Ah! Hi, I'm 23 years old. I live in Portugal. I'm so nervous to make this video because I used to make videos in the past. I loved doing it, but then I stopped. But as the title suggests, I recently had an ayahuasca experience and I felt very compelled to share it. So I've split this video into a few sections and this video is going to be quite long. So if there's anything in specific that you want to skip to, I won't take it personally, go ahead. So one day I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see my cousin, sort of cousin, we're related, not direct cousins, on Instagram about her experience in Peru at Apu Healing Center. And I watched through her stories. It seemed super interesting and I replied to them and she tells me more about it. Long story short, I start to investigate a lot about this, people's testimonials here on YouTube, given the context of life that I was in, that I had just decided I was going to leave my job and I was going to pursue a totally different career path because I had always taken management and business, and I'm going to start in September psychology, so I'm super excited. After also being many years in therapy and processing through a lot of things, I still felt like there was a lot stored in me that I wanted to let go of. So during my search, I looked at a bunch of different retreat centers, but none of them resonated with me or gave me the trust that it was something legit. Then a big reason why the place that I went to resonated with me is that you have to have a consultation call to know if both parties are aligned. So if they feel like you're not in a good headspace to go, they won't allow you to, which I think is amazing. It just goes to show that it's not just something to make money off of, it's not just a business for them. They truly believe in the medicine. The retreat that I did was the Sacred Plants retreat that integrates not only ayahuasca but also Mapacho and Wachuma and a few others that will be timestamped below. So obviously there's a whole diet before you do this kind of medicine that I will list here, kind of the foods that you aren't allowed to eat. Also, you should abstain from sexual relations 1 month before. It's also super important that you start to set your intentions. What are you looking to take out of this? Just a lot of reflecting. Fast forward to going to Peru. It was quite a journey. I had to take 3 flights from Lisbon to Brazil, São Paulo, from São Paulo to Lima and Lima to Peru. Which was over a 24-hour journey. So day one, they pick us up from the center of Cusco to drive to the Apu Healing Center that is in the middle of the Apu Mountains. The facilities are also super nice. It's basically this house surrounded by mountains on all sides. It's like you're in a little cup of the mountains. We were a total of 6 girls doing this experience. The main organizer is Rosanita. She is indigenous from Peru but has also lived in New York, and she's just the most wonderful soul, super down to earth, and it was just really nice to have the person that's going to serve you the ayahuasca be so down to earth and so human and so willing to explain everything that we're gonna do, explain the plants, explain the experience, integrating us. And then there's also Tiago, that he's the photographer. He's also Brazilian, so it was really nice to have someone I was speaking Portuguese with. The main event of the first day is the Coca plant introduction with an elder that comes in, and we basically say our names, our parents' name, grandparents' name, set our intentions and ask for permissions from the mountains. And we also get a chance to try coca leaves, which is basically you roll them up into this little mint paste and you place them in the back of your mouth and chew, and you can either spit it or swallow it. It's supposed to make you feel a bit more energized. And then we have dinner, and the next day the big magic is going to happen. Okay, so cutting to day 2, Tuesday. The day starts with a Mapacho Purge. Mapacho is a male plant that's from tobacco. You basically drink it in the form of a tea, and then you're supposed to have a few glasses of water, and it's supposed to make you purge, so throw up. If you're having difficulties, they give you like these dandelion sticks that help you throw up. Now, for me, this experience was very challenging. Throwing up can be something that's a bit triggering, and I didn't have the easiest time throwing up. It just made me cry a lot and get really sad, and I felt really queasy. But again, this was my experience, not necessarily everybody's. At this point, I was really questioning why I'm doing this. Like, I felt very uncomfortable in my body, and I was just not feeling great. The same day, everybody has a consultation call with Rosanita, or not a consultation call, but a one-on-one, to kind of see where you're at, what you're feeling. And so we spoke, then we all had lunch, and then that afternoon I started to feel quite a bit better. So at around 2 o'clock, 3, we do the flower shower. That's basically each person can come up either in a bathing suit or naked, however you feel more comfortable, and Rosanita will pour these beautiful flowers and warm water on you and say the most beautiful words. You're not supposed to take a shower or pick out the flowers that land on you, because they're meant to kind of protect you and give you good energies for what's coming ahead. So we're finally to this main event, that is the ayahuasca ceremony. It's in the dome. There's 6 mattresses on the floor for each of the participants, where you go in and you sit. Before anything else, we do rapeh, which is this powder, if I'm not mistaken, also comes from tobacco, and that you have to breathe in. And one of the facilitators will, with like kind of it's not really a straw, but shoot up this powder, and it goes into here, and then you can breathe, and then they will do it through the other nostril. And the sensation, it kind of tingles and it gets really warm, and you start like tearing up from the physical sensation. But for me personally, it was very pleasant. Like, I felt this kind of high and really calm, and it should tranquilize you before ayahuasca that you're about to take. You're finally called up to take your glass of ayahuasca, which a big thing that I saw in testimonies is about the taste. So the taste is not pleasant, but it's not as bad as I was expecting. But I know that it can also change from brew to brew. In this case, it was completely doable. I was freaking myself out because of the taste. There's no reason to, it's fine. So after taking the glass, and I just want to give a little bit of context. If you're not familiar, ayahuasca is known as grandmother ayahuasca. It's supposed to be this feminine energy that can be very loving, but also very tough. And she gives you what you need and what you can handle at the time. After you take your glass, everybody goes back to their mattresses, kind of lays down, covers themselves up. I'm laying there with my eyes closed, and all of a sudden I hear this music, and it sounds like the music comes right over my head. I thought the facilitator kind of moved and was above me, but I was wrong. It was just this dome has the most beautiful acoustic. The music is so complex. It's like these leaves that rattle on the floor that kind of sounds like snakes, and drums, percussion, Also beautiful voices from the facilitators. I'm laying down listening to this beautiful music, and I start to see kind of geometric shapes that will fade. But I was like, I think this may still be placebo. I don't think I'm feeling anything. But then at some point it really intensifies. I entered these visions of like super vivid nature that would come up and disappear, like snakes and super like cute bunnies and just nature all around. And at some point I start to feel the presence of like this third person, the grandmother that's with me. And I see myself in the perspective of being a child walking through this world, seeing all of these beautiful things. I was laying down on my side here, and what I could see was like exactly this field of vision, and here was dark, and I kept looking around. I would see more. It's like these VR glasses, like, oh my god, that's so nice. And then I just plopped my head. And at this point I just felt like super comfortable. I was like smiling so hard, and I was kind of wiggling my toes and my body, and everything just felt so good. And you're basically walking through this world having a dialogue, you know, with your subconscious, with grandmother, kind of exploring. Things pop up, they disappear, and I was like, oh, let's go through that dark window. And she's like, we can go there, but first I want to show you just how beautiful the world is. The message that I got is the feeling of oneness that everybody talks about, but it's seeing nature as this beautiful cycle that is completely intertwined. It was kind of a feeling like me and an animal and a leaf and a tree are the same thing. We're all interconnected. And a feeling like even me and other people, if you're hurting, I'm hurting. We're all this collective. And another thing that I remember thinking and looking at so differently is life as the cycle of life and death, and not really fearing death, because since everything is kind of interconnected in energy that shifts and molds and changes, I kept thinking to myself, I know I'm living this experience and it's temporary, like my time on earth is temporary, but I feel so at peace with it because at least I get to experience this beautiful life and nature and full of abundance. And the biggest thing that I kept hearing, this message, is love is abundance. There's an abundance of love, and I could see this everywhere. Now, before the rest that I kind of experienced, at some point they call for the second glass, and I'm really feeling like, okay, I'm very deep in this process, like I'm feeling it a lot. I don't need it. But during one of the consultation calls, Wendy, a facilitator, told me, if you feel like you can go ahead and go. So I just kind of, I sit up from laying down, and I like look like this. I probably looked drunk as hell. And I tried to stand up, and I'm kind of wobbling. Like, I felt kind of drunk, honestly, but I was on cloud nine. And I sit in front of Rosanita, and she's like, how are you doing? And just answer, oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. Like with this face. And I pick up my glass and I drink it, and it's literally just one drop in there. And I was like, okay, I think that's a good call. I don't think I need any more than this. And so I just go back and I lay down again, and I'm just like experiencing everything. So now some more intense things start to happen. That is, I was in this state of abundance and love, and I felt so full of love that I just wanted to hug everybody and show how beautiful this the world is. So I met with a lot of people from my past, and my mom and my dad, and I was meeting with their inner childs that probably didn't get the love they deserved, that were hurt, and I just embraced them, and I cried a lot, and I was just feeling so sorry for the pain that we all are going through, in a way, in different ways, in different forms, but really, really, really empathizing with so many people. And it was really unexpected and so powerful. And whilst meeting with these people, I kept asking grandmother, like, okay, but I'm giving so much of this love away. What about me? Who's gonna give this to me? Who's gonna love me? She's like, oh, you don't have to worry, because remember what I keep telling you, love is abundant. It's not gonna end. It's everywhere. It's everything. And it's also in you. I've struggled a lot with my body and with food, and I think a lot of girls can relate. And I just remember looking at myself like, how could I ever be so mean to myself and judge my arms and my stomach and my face? And just looked at myself and was like, you're so perfect, like, and not in a superiority way, but in a, there's space for everyone, and there's so much beauty. And I just promised to really never talk so badly to myself again, because it's this precious little body that's making me experience these beautiful worlds. And yeah, it was just really, really special. As like intense as it sounds, it comes down to, I think, a basic principle of having an abundance mindset of, you don't have to be afraid to give, because you will receive. And even though I knew this obviously before, a lot of even the conclusions I'm taking, there was something that just felt so hurt and incomplete and like scarcity. And who's gonna give this to me? Who's gonna make me feel loved? And I think we all feel that. We all just want to be accepted and loved for who we are. I don't know, I'm kind of trying to conclude what I feel about this first night, because it all sounds very intense and kind of insane and magical. But the main thing is, even though you're in these heightened senses, you can truly now choose to apply this to your life and to the people around you. So the next day is an integration day, which starts in the morning with Antoine, which is one of the facilitators from the night before. And we do some body movements and kind of breath work. And then we come inside, and we were the 6 girls plus Rosanita and Tiago, and each one of us just talked about our experiences. And it was super nice just to be so vulnerable and talk about our experiences and learn from each other and be there for each other. So I think the integration is definitely a huge part for you to be able to process everything that went down, because it's so much that I kept thinking, like, how am I going to process all of this and tell the people back in my life and put this into action in my life, because I just had these massive insights. It's like somebody put a flash drive in your head, and it's like, oh my god, this is all amazing, but it's so much, you know. Day 4 is the second ayahuasca ceremony, and I'm not sure if it was the night before or during that lunch that one of the girls said that she wasn't going to do the ceremony. And at this point, I'm feeling very hypersensitive. I was really questioning if I should do it, because I was feeling very hypersensitive, and like everything was a lot, because even though it was great, it was a lot to process. So this day we don't do the mapacho, but we do the flower shower, finally at around 5, 6. we have the ceremony. And we start with Rapeh, so the thing that they shoot up to your third eye, and then we take ayahuasca. So this time went quite a bit differently. As I like sit down and lay down on my little mattress, this day it was super cold. I was feeling for some reason very uncomfortable in my body. Like I couldn't breathe very well, and I was really psyching myself out like I'm gonna go crazy, I'm gonna lose my mind, oh my god, what am I doing here? And so time kind of just goes by. The music starts, and for some reason that day the music is really triggering to me, because the songs, even though they're beautiful, some other sounds can also pull some different things inside of you and be triggering. At some point, they call for the second glass, which made me a little bit relieved, because I was like, okay, I made it to this point and I'm not really feeling anything. Like maybe I was feeling a microdose, but I was very much grounded. I wasn't having any visuals. Like I felt like I was there. Tiago comes up to me and he touches my shoulder and he's like, oh, are you feeling it? I was like, oh, no, not really. He's like, oh, but now's your chance to get the second glass. I was like, oh no, but I'm good like this. And honestly, like, thank goodness that I didn't feel it as much, because even if it was amazing, it would be too much for me. So I really learned my boundary at that moment. Like, this is what I can take right now. Time goes on, I'm still uncomfortable, super cold, and I kept thinking to myself, like, I need to ask for another blanket because I'm super cold and just uncomfortable. So I'm kind of debating this for a while, and at one point I just like called Tiago and like, oh, can I have another blanket? And so I cover myself and I just try to get comfortable. And finally after that, I was able to kind of fall asleep for a little bit, and I woke up and I just felt so relieved and warm and like, okay, like this is okay, like I feel good. And yeah, so I woke up, I was like, okay, I feel good. I was just kind of experiencing the music. I'm not sure for how long I fell asleep. Also, I just want to put here a quick note that a lot of things people talk about in their testimonials is the ayahuasca making you purge or go to the bathroom a lot. And I had none of those experiences. I will say the first ceremony, I felt like I kind of could go to the bathroom, but I was okay. I just went to the bathroom when I got to my room, but it wasn't anything like intense. Just so you know, that doesn't necessarily have to happen. And a lot of my friends were like, oh my god, you're gonna shit yourself. It's like, calm down. And that did not happen at all. So yeah, the next day we have the same sort of integration in the morning with Francois, and then we meet again all to talk about our experiences. And I think I got two big takeaways from the night before. One, to ask for what I need, because that's as simple as that may seem. Asking for that blanket completely changed my experience, and I could have done that a lot sooner. And that's something that I tend to do in my life. I'm like, oh no, I'm strong, I can deal with this. But if I just ask for what I need, it can be so much easier. And also to know my boundaries and know that, okay, I don't want a second glass, I'm okay. Now I can listen to my body and know what it needs, because deep down you do know what you need. So finally, day 5, we take Wachuma, also known as San Pedro. It's known as a male plant that's grandfather. It's supposed to make you feel very happy and energized, and like everything's very funny, and you feel very grounded in your body and also in nature. So this day you're fasted. You can have like a banana or something small, and in the dome we take this thing that's kind of like a green smoothie. It doesn't taste very good. It's kind of bitter. But you drink it, and then we all walk to this river where we're gonna stay the whole day. I was feeling very nauseous because it's kind of strong and it can make you feel a bit nauseous. And I was really in my head at this point, because I was like, I feel like the male plants don't really agree with me. They just make me feel really uncomfortable, and I'm not feeling any of the super positive emotions that are supposed to come with it. And at one point I go to meet up with one of the girls. We became very close, and we're just talking about each other's experience, and it was the most beautiful and heartwarming conversations that just made me so happy to be there. And after that, like, my day just took a huge turn, and like everything in nature became so beautiful. And you would just look at everything. Like, I had this fly on my hand and I saw every single detail, and I was looking at grass and I could see like the little hairs in the grass, and I was taking pictures of everything, and we were listening to music and just laying down. It was just intense, like, peace and joy, but in a very calming way. And I just remember thinking, like, I could stay here all day. Like, I just felt super good. Yeah, so on the way back, we take these plastic bags and we collect trash on the way, which I also think is a really simple way of giving back to this beautiful earth that you just spent like the whole day in awe of. So the next day we go on a hike. So we start the day with breakfast, and then we go to the market in the town where the center is, and we buy some food and also flowers. And so we get to the mountain, and we're gonna do a hike, which is supposed to take from 1 to 2 hours. I was a bit scared because I was spending most days kind of doing nothing physical, so I was like, this might be a bit challenging. But you're welcome to take coca leaves to give you a bit of an energy boost, and I definitely think that it did. So we hike up. At some point we meet with all of these llamas from a family that lives up in the mountains. It's super nice, and we're just kind of hiking up with them. And once we get to the top, we have a picnic. So we're just having like potatoes and little snacks that, oh my god, they were delicious. Finally, before we leave, we do this flower offering, which with the flowers that we got at the market, we do this kind of mandala to offer it back to Mother Nature, and it's really beautiful. And before we leave, Rosanita calls each one of us and kind of says a small prayer that is also very special, and it almost made me cry. Finally, the last day, we have a Coca ceremony and Arcanda. I think that's how you say it, but basically we go back into the dome, and we have this cacao drink, which is basically, it's not a hot chocolate, but it's made from this thing that I actually bought to make at home, from cacao and a bit of milk, a plant milk and spices, and it's super nice. Even though it's not super sweet, it tastes very good and very warming, and it just opens up your heart. And there's this beautiful music playing that's really touching. And the Arcanda is supposed to give you this protective shields now that you're going into the world, that your senses are so sensitive and you're so sensitive to everything, and give you this shield so you're ready to go back into the real world. And it's also really beautiful. My camera's about to die, but final conclusions. I just want to express how tremendously grateful I am for this experience. I feel like my outlook on life, on how I'm living, how I'm feeling everything has really changed. I want to put a disclaimer that I know that I'm extremely lucky to be able to do this, and I am aware of the privilege that I have, 1,000,000%. If you're looking for a retreat center, I would 1,000,000% recommend going to Apu Healing Center. I definitely feel like it was the best place I could have gone for so many different reasons. But yeah, it's not just the ayahuasca ceremony itself, it's the people, it's the integration, it's the even now keeping up with them, it's just a combination of everything. If you feel the calling, I definitely believe that it can give you so much, and it was so much more than I could ever ask for, and that I could even fathom. Like, I could not rationalize or project what I'm feeling right now. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope you could take at least something away from it, and I will hopefully see you soon. Bye.